Good evening. Thank you for joining our virtual town hall for the cities of Riviera Beach and West Palm Beach. This meeting is being hosted by the North Region and Central Region and includes other regional offices because two of our schools are full choice magnet programs with students attending from throughout the county. Please note that we are recording this meeting so those who cannot attend tonight can watch it at a later date.
Good evening, I'm Valerie.
At this time, I'm going to turn it over.
Sorry, Dr. Long. Good evening. My name is Valerie Haynes, and I'm the Central Region Superintendent. With me tonight, virtually, the Central Region Instructional Superintendent for Secondary Schools, Karen Wetzel, Central Region Instructional Superintendents for Elementary Schools, Dr. Jennifer Sanders and Ms. Vivian Green are also joining us. In addition, Dr. Long, North Regional Superintendent, will now introduce herself and her North Region team.
Again, my name is Camille Long. I'm the North Regional Superintendent. I would like to first recognize our school board members and ask for them to give us a comment. So on behalf of Superintendent Dr. Donald Fenoy and the other regional superintendents, I would like to introduce Dr. Deborah Robinson, school board member, and allow her to make comments.
Hi, good evening. I just want to thank everyone for participating in this. We have some very, very difficult decisions we have to make with a lot of competing interest. And so we really need the input from you, your thoughts, so that we make sure that we don't miss any fine points as we make plans for the future. So thanks again.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. And next up, I would like to introduce Mrs. Erica Whitfield and allow her to make some comments.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you all so much for having me here. And I want to thank all of the participants for taking time out of their day to be on this call. The decisions that we're making are not easy, and we just appreciate so much you taking the time to share with us your thoughts. Your opinion is very valuable to us. Also, we're very grateful that you trust us with your children, and we hope that we can make the best decision for all families concerned. Please stay safe and feel free to reach out to us to let us know anything that isn't covered tonight. We want to make sure we hear from absolutely everybody. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Joining me tonight are the North Regional staff members who also supervise our schools, Dr. Joseph Lee, High School Instructional Superintendent, Mrs. Maria Bishop, Elementary Instructional Superintendent, and Robin Brown, Elementary Instructional Superintendent. At this time, I will turn the meeting over to Valerie Haynes to get us started.
We would like to welcome you to tonight's town hall. This gives you, our stakeholders, another opportunity to provide your input and for us to be able to share with you the ways in which we are preparing for the reopening of schools. We would like to take this opportunity to also welcome the city officials participating this evening. With us tonight, we have the West Palm Beach Mayor, the mayor's staff, and council members, as well as the Riviera Beach Mayor, staff, and also council members.
The purpose of tonight's town hall is to share information with the community by highlighting the ongoing work and review proposed reopening plans for the 2021 school year. These town halls were organized by city, region, or language to better address the unique needs of our communities. Last night and in previous evenings, many of our residents participated in the town halls facilitated in Spanish, Hmong, Haitian Creole, or Portuguese. Town halls are also meant to complement the other ways the district has collected feedback from various community groups, such as parents and employees. Events are open to all of our community members, but town halls are being recorded to ensure individuals who cannot attend can still access the information being covered.
During the first half of this town hall, we will be highlighting district-wide efforts that have been ongoing since schools closed in mid-March due to COVID-19. This includes work related to summer learning opportunities, professional development and supports, and also addressing the internet access. So we're going to go ahead and get started with summer learning. The summer learning opportunities provided by our district are all virtual. Students with individualized education plans were offered the opportunity to continue their learning this summer. Approximately 6,500 students are currently enrolled and participating in virtual learning 4 days a week. District staff is offering programming related to extended school year, but also credit and course recovery and also enrichment programs for our English language learners and also for our migrant students. We are also offering a targeted intervention program for select students. Each elementary school was allocated teachers to work virtually with students that are below grade level in small groups, targeting specific deficiencies in literacy and mathematics. About $1 million were allocated to our schools to provide this great opportunity for students to catch up for missed instruction, especially for those students that are significantly behind. All students also have the option to take part in self-paced virtual activities outlined as a part of our Summer Learning Essentials website, which was launched earlier this month. These activities provide an additional opportunity for students to sharpen their skills or master standards in preparation for the next grade level. Activities include virtual field trips and other interactive opportunities to help learning alive during the summer months. The district also recently approved summer leases for a small group of community-based organizations such as the Boys and Girls Club, For My Children, and that's just to name a few. They're able to host face-to-face summer camps in select school buildings. So here's a screenshot of our Summer Learning Essentials website. If you click on the top where it says Summer Learning Essentials, you will be able to access virtual libraries. It's important to note that we made a partnership with our public library system to be able to provide that for our students. Virtual learning experiences and field trips, as well as targeted intervention resources by grade level and also by subject area for incoming kindergarten through 5th grade. The address is listed on the bottom of the slide, so you can always go into our homepage by simply going to palmbeachschools.org to access resources that support continuous learning over the summer. In addition, the district has also offered numerous professional development opportunities and support for students and staff in response to COVID-19, and also in response to our school closure. Schools and regional offices received ongoing feedback regarding distance learning soon after school closures. Some students and parents had a great experience, while others did not. And so we listened to your feedback and moved quickly to develop professional development opportunities for our teachers to grow and calibrate this summer, including some topics such as effective and robust distance learning implementation, as well as even reaching unengaged students and CDC cleanliness protocols. We recognize that it's going to take all of us learning and growing to be able to provide world-class education for all our students. Mental health supports for students are also ongoing, despite school closures during using telehealth services, either by phone or also online. During the closure, hundreds and hundreds of students continue to participate in counseling sessions virtually. Our district also hosted 2 summer institutes recently that were open to all members of the community, including our teachers and administrators. They are the Hispanic and Latino Studies, as well as African, African American, and Caribbean Studies.
It is important to note the digital divide goes beyond distance learning and education. Without internet access, households are limited in the ways they are able to interact with their healthcare professionals, government officials, and communities. When the district transitioned to distance learning in mid-March in response to the pandemic, we knew not every student would have access to a stable internet connection. Our principals and teachers made every effort to connect with every student without the ability to connect in Google Meet or our Google Classroom platform. Thinking outside the box, they found creative ways to provide instruction using the telephone or partnering with businesses or organizations to assist with distributing resources to our most vulnerable students. We also know there will always be a need for a plan B to return to distance learning. In the event of another COVID outbreak or any other event such as a hurricane, that may require prolonged school closures. Addressing the digital divide has a huge return on investment. The district is excited to partner with different entities to finally address the need for internet access in all of our communities within Palm Beach County. The district made a conscious decision to use the COVID-19 pandemic as an opportunity to bridge the digital divide in Palm Beach County. Our mission is to grant all residents, regardless of zip code, access to reliable internet service in their neighborhoods. Although we know this is a big challenge, our solution relies heavily on the involvement of public and private partners. Over the last several weeks, district staff have been engaging key stakeholders in the Internet Access Project. Palm Beach County also set aside $10 million of Federal CARES Act funding for what the county is calling digital inclusion projects. This $10 million allocation by the Palm Beach County Commission will go towards things such as building out infrastructure in coverage areas prioritized in partnership with the county and school district, pole attachment agreements with FP&L, covering one-time and reoccurring costs. So our strategies will continue. Here you'll see some of the short and long-term strategies we are undertaking to connect with families in Palm Beach County. For the short term, utilizing hotspots, utilizing internet sponsorships, fundraising for Wi-Fi extenders to provide our students with access. But we also are thinking long-term. Long-term would be Wi-Fi extenders, utilizing internet scholarships, partnerships with local municipalities, ensuring subsidized housing participants have internet access, connecting with families to free subsidized offers that are available to them. The district is securing funds to purchase hotspots and internet sponsorships for needy families, in addition to securing long-term partnerships with the county and municipalities to ensure the necessary infrastructure for Wi-Fi exists in all communities. So this slide focuses on reimagining schools. Now let's transition to the district's initial options for reopening. We will use time during tonight's town hall to review the initial plan shared with our school board on June 10th and to collect additional feedback that you may have that we will utilize to share with the different communities working on reopening plans. The next slide shares the projects that have been happening within our school district over the months, January to March. So the January to March timeline, the district began monitoring and responding to the COVID-19 pandemic as early as January 2020. The district closed schools in mid-March as per guidance from the Florida Department of Education and the state of Florida. These events were similar to what we saw happening across the United States and the world. Between April and June, the district is currently reimagining the reopening of schools based on feedback collected during parent and employee surveys, and these virtual town halls as well, as recommendations from health experts and guidance from the state of Florida and Department of Education are shared with us. I also wanted to take a moment to flag upcoming dates where the community can learn more about finalized reopening plans. So these dates are listed on the screen. They are July 1st, 2020, the board and public workshop on survey results. July 8th, the reopening task force shares options. And July 15th, the final decision will be communicated.
As mentioned before, our superintendent, Dr. Donald Horn, created a reopening task force to support decision-making around the reopening of schools for the 2020-2021 school year. The reopening task force, or also known as RTF, is comprised of key district staff, including principals, assistant principals, teachers, staff from operations, human resources, to name a few. They propose considerations, implications, and possibilities for reopening options to the superintendent, his executive team, and the school board. Some of the options that are taken into account include an emphasis on the safety and security of all students and staff, prioritizing an equitable environment for all students, ensuring high quality instruction, and also adaptability for sudden closures. It is important to note the superintendent also created a health advisory committee, since the expertise of our local health officials is absolutely critical during the decision-making process. The RTF also proposed 3 possible reopening options on June 10th. They are a full-time return to face-to-face instruction at school campuses. The second option is a blended model, which combines face-to-face instruction and distance learning. And the third model is distance learning exclusively. So let's take a little bit more time to look at that slide. Very important information. So with the 3 options, when you're looking at the full-time in school option, we're talking about back to in-person teaching, but prepared to go virtual if needed. And those needing to go virtual is, could be a spike in COVID-19 cases. It could be hurricane. Could be many reasons why we have to, our superintendent calls the green light, red light. We have to be able to stop and go as needed. And teachers continue to incorporate technology. On the blended model, some days in person, some days virtual. Google Classroom. Teachers flip instruction using Google Classroom and pre-recorded content, and also equitable access to face-to-face instruction. And for distance learning is somewhat of what we experienced the last trimester or 9 weeks of school this past year, utilizing Google Classroom and Google Meet daily, as well as focus on quality instruction. Know that we have worked extremely hard as a district to provide robust professional development for our distance learning to actually go to the next level for the upcoming year should parents choose to go that route, and if the option will be available. Going to the next slide. To wrap up the conversation on reopening schools, we want to share 2 quick videos on the district's ongoing efforts to keep students and staff safe during these challenging times. The first video focuses around the work that our district employees have been doing in our school buildings in preparing for reopening. And the second video is going to be focused around the way in which we are cleaning and disinfecting our school buses and getting everything ready for reopening. Before we begin the Q&A portion of the town hall, I would like to take an opportunity to remind you about our summer feeding sites. We know that food insecurity remains a big challenge in some of our Palm Beach County communities. So I wanted to take a moment to highlight our summer feeding sites. To date, over 3 million meals have been distributed since schools closed in mid-March. Meal distribution will continue into the summer at the 52 school locations across Palm Beach County. Distribution takes place on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Please visit our webpage dedicated to summer feeding for additional information.
Community members were encouraged to submit questions in advance of this evening's meeting. Valerie Haynes and I are now going to answer some of the pre-submitted questions as time permits. The questions many were alike. So we grouped them into categories, and I'm going to, as best as I can, share the names of the individuals who sent in the questions. At this time, I'm going to start, and Valerie Haynes and I are going to tag team those. So the first question came in from, it was the most asked question. It came in from Tankisha, it came in from John, Tim in West Palm Beach, Mr. Brown in Riviera Beach, and Janisha. The question is, when are classes planned to start? So I'll take that one. For now, we are planning to begin classes, begin school as our calendar stipulates on August 10th. This will be determined, what it would look like will be determined at our July meeting, as previously stated, on July 15th. But right now, the date remains August 10th. And if anything changes, we will share the information with the public as well as with our constituents in the various cities.
All right, so Dr. Long.
Next.
Okay, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Long, the next question actually came from Laura. And Laura had a question around what is the protocol if a child comes to school sick? Okay, I'm going to take that one.
Okay.
The school district of Palm Beach County is partnering with the Florida Department of Health and Palm Beach County Health Department, and this team is currently working to develop the appropriate protocols for when a student or staff member is determined to be on campus and test positive for the coronavirus. The details of this plan has not been released, but I want you to be assured that there is a team of health experts that are working on this exact question. Provide answers to.
Okay, I have another one. This came from Anthony, this came from Johnny, this came from Dean. The question is, what is proper protocol for cleaning classrooms and what chemicals are being used? Whoa, okay. The district has a department that's ensuring all proper cleaning protocols and correct chemicals are being used. That is handled through our operations department, and they are following CDC guidelines as well as best measures for schools within the state of Florida. And the custodians are constantly being trained and provided with knowledge on how to use these cleaning materials. So the exact names I don't have, but they are in accordance with district procedures.
So one of the questions that came from a person by the name of April, I hope she's listening. If we were to go on a hybrid schedule, would there be aftercare available for my child when she finishes school? So one of the things that we're working on, and discussing, and part of what the RTF or Reopening Task Force is working on, extended learning is going to be dependent on the different options or models that are either select or available by the district and through parent choice. So it will be part of the conversation and part of the plan in which aftercare will be able to support the needs of parents while they're at work. But we do not have those answers or those plans finalized just yet, but we are working on that.
Okay, I have a question from Consuela, Joe, Stephanie, all of West Palm. The question is about fine arts. What will fine arts look like this fall? And one of them added their child is in one of the magnet programs and wanted to know, would they be able to have the types of practices that they're used to seeing as they practice for plays and, have instruments and that kind of thing. The Reopening Task Force is currently working on sharing their best thinking around what that would look like in the elementary and secondary settings. Final decisions on what that programming will look like have not been determined, but we are aware that special considerations do need to be made for those students who are a part of programs that involve quite a bit of contact.
Here's a question that we have to think even beyond just the reopening of schools. And Samantha had this question about, will we still have the emergency drills, the code red, the fire drills, etc.? And if so, what would that look like with the masses in the halls and outside in close contact? So again, safety drill procedures are currently in place for the FY21 school year. Of course, we're going to do, we're going to have to look at different ways to be able to socially distance as best as possible. But just as our own governor shared his plan for reopening, when it talks about social distancing, the request from the school level is that we do the very best that we can. We have to not only make sure that our students are safe with their health, but also we need to have safety also, and think about we are all safety and bringing that forward. So we're still working on those plans as well.
Okay, I have one from Football Dad, and I love this, Speedster 21. And the question also came from a Colleen as well as a William. Will there be sports activities such as football, cheer, band, and those kinds of things? When will that decision be made, and when will students be allowed back on the campus to practice? So our district's manager of athletics is working closely with the Florida High School Athletic Association, as well as the reopening task force. And they are working on provisions and protocols at this time and planning for the next steps. And as soon as FHS, the Florida High School Athletic Association, provides details, they will be prepared to share that with the various athletic teams.
This question came up quite a bit. I see a couple called in from or emailed in from Riviera Beach, but then we're also from the city of West Palm Beach. And it really is around, the question is related to distance learning and any anticipated changes for the 2021 year. I know we covered a bit of that during the presentation, but I think it's important to note that again, our district staff has engaged in professional development opportunities focused on distance learning, as well as strategies for working with unengaged learners, which is a very important topic. We are going to continue to provide ongoing professional development and other supports to help instructional staff build skills in the area of distance learning. If it is determined the schools can reopen based on a combination of multiple factors, we know that a serious outbreak, and we talked about that before as well, could happen at any time. So we have to be able to transition back and forth as needed. Again, going back to our superintendent's best way of putting it is, the stop and go at any given point. Beyond the professional development, our academics team is also working diligently to produce high quality instructional materials that teachers can use for distance learning purposes. And they've been working very hard on that this summer. Having these materials will also help standardize student learning experiences as much as possible, while simultaneously setting a high bar for instruction. And that is our goal, to be able to provide all of our students with a world-class education, whether it is brick or mortar or whether it is virtual.
Okay, the next one I have is from Corianne, and she says, I am the mother of a teacher. She's only 23 years old and began her first year of teaching last year. We've heard about what the politicians believe about the schools reopening, but what are teachers saying? Can they handle doing online and some in person? That's a good question. Concerned parent. So we have various work groups that are going on at this time that are working on plans that include the stakeholders and also includes teachers. And those groups are getting input from teachers about what strategies are going to help them feel comfortable, what items or supplies or procedures are they comfortable with. In addition to that, we have had some input from teachers around the online instruction and some of the professional development that they were interested in having for themselves. And that has been ongoing throughout the summer. So yes, we are listening to the teachers.
So this is a question that's always seems to be a hot topic, though, I must add, Dr. Long. Will there be standardized testing for the 2020-2021 school year? That is certainly not a decision that's made in Palm Beach County, but the Florida Department of Education has stated already that standardized testing will occur as planned for the 2020-21 school year. Of course, like anything else, that could change. But information in regards to that can also be found at the state website at fldoe.org. Once on the website, if you click on the coronavirus page for more information, voila, there you will find our information in regards to standardized testing.
So I have one from Smith Ann and Gloria B. of West Palm. How can we keep kids safe at lunch, at gym, and recess? Some of my older kids are required to change into a PE uniform. I'm concerned. So, great question. The safety of our students is, of course, of the utmost importance. The district is going to follow the CDC's recommendations regarding recess, lunch, and how to provide those opportunities for our students. So we will follow those guidelines once established.
So this is a question from Lena and Oscar. Before we decide which route we want to take as parents, will there be more specific description of virtual lessons that will be offered? So the answer is yes to that. That is something that we've already shared earlier in the presentation. Our teaching and learning, our curriculum department is reviewing and updating virtual plans based on the feedback that we received from parents and students as well as teachers. So that is in the works at this time.
This is a question for a parent who has an upcoming senior. It's Emily says, my daughter will be a senior this upcoming school year. She has not fulfilled her community service hour requirements. What options are available since most businesses are not allowing students and others to come to volunteer? So this is a great question. We definitely have some opportunities for online volunteer work, and it is available on our district site. I am going to email you directly because I have your information. But if there are other parents on tonight's town hall who need that information, I want to provide you the link directly at the end of the presentation. My email address will be there, and I will send you the link directly, which lists many different ways that students can have options to gain community service hours.
So this is a question that came from Victoria. I hope you're out there listening. And what steps is a district taken to provide remedial courses for immigrant children over the summer? And what is the plan for the next school year to assist them? So part of that hopefully has already been answered in the presentation during the town hall. Currently, during the summer, we are offering virtual learning for our English language learners as well as our migrant students through our ESOL department. And that is happening virtually. We have thousands of students that's participating in that now as we speak. But also, in addition to that, for the upcoming school year, the curriculum department is working in collaboration with the multilingual department to review and update plans and support options for students needing additional language supports. So one of the ways that we do, and we will continue to be very creative about, is all about building a schedule during the day to be able to provide those additional supports to students, right? So that is in the works, and we will continue working with that. We do recognize, especially for those students that have not had internet access and that is beyond their control, we recognize that we are going to have to take some drastic steps to be able to catch up our students to their peers.
So this is from Lena Naris and Jonathan. Can you explain advanced placement courses, IB, ACE, and dual enrollment. I'm concerned about my child's GPA, and will the weighting of those courses remain the same if the district goes all virtual? So these are courses that are governed by College Board in Cambridge, and they have not made any decisions regarding assessments or the platform for their courses as of yet. As soon as that is updated, we will be sharing that with parents of those students who are enrolled in those courses or were enrolled in those courses for FY20.
So a good question coming from Teresa, Sharon, and Jesus. Will parents be given an option to keep their children home and participate solely in distance learning? So as I mentioned earlier today, it is one of the options that the reopening task force and that we are considering as a district. But of course, the decisions around that have not been made quite yet. But we are trying to provide options for parents, keeping in mind your own fears about COVID-19, and keeping in mind for those of you that do need to return back to the workforce full time. So we're trying to provide choices for parents while at the same time making sure that we provide quality education for all of our students.
So this next question is about recently COVID cases have increased. Do you really think it's a good idea to open schools? We are going to, of course, follow the CDC and the Florida Department of Education guidelines and what that advice is. In addition to our reopening task force, along with the superintendent and school board, will make those decisions regarding the opening and closing of schools. But of course, we're working with those entities to closely monitor the status of our various communities within Palm Beach County.
This is a great question, Dr. Long, from Rios and Cheryl. And you know, when we say multiple names, it kind of has the same, you know, meaning behind the question. But basically, is what will measures look like for those of the DHH community who are struggling even more so now that masks do not allow them to read lips during conversation, and most of the population doesn't have a clue about the actual ASL. So, you know, we really do appreciate you bringing that up. We want to reassure you that we are developing plans to address the needs of our ESC students. And our director of ESC education, or exceptional student education, and his team are following the recommendations of the Department of Education and sharing this information with their school-based ESC contacts. Know that we will make sure that we continue to provide individualized support for students as best as we can. I know that one of the things that we're looking at also, depending on the needs of our students, is whether we find other ways to protect or, you know, with either shields ourselves so that the students are able to, you know, for this particular case with DHH, working at creative ways for our students to be able to see the teacher's lips and vice versa for teaching purposes. So we're working through special situations as in order to be able to meet the needs of all of our students.
So I have a couple of statements. They're not really a question, but I'm just going to share them because I want to acknowledge our community members who submitted them. This is from a Joanna Stevenson-White. While our teachers did a great job with virtual learning and switching very quickly, my concern is that my child needs face-to-face instruction, and I believe that that is what we should start with in August. I have another statement from Anonymous. Parents must be able to return to work full-time in order to feed their families. Most families do not have a parent that can stay home on weekdays or even work from home. A hybrid model of some kind or in person is not feasible for my family. Many families have already faced significant financial hardships over the last several months. And this is another statement. I'm hopeful that we are not going to open schools in an effort just to be compliant. The health, care, and well-being of our children should be of the utmost importance. These children have suffered enough, some even within their families having deaths. Let's make a smart decision and not a decision based on protocols. And then this is another statement. This one is anonymous as well. We need to ensure that mental health counselors are consistently available for all of our students within the county to ensure that they are able to receive the necessary supports. Totally agree.
There you go, Dr. Long. Go ahead.
I agree. How will teachers with kids handle getting to work, especially if we do on and off days or split schedules? I'm a teacher. I'm concerned that I'm a teacher and a parent. I am concerned that if the schedule is split, what if I have to work a day that my child is off? That's a good question. When we narrow down, it's kind of a statement and a question. I guess when we narrow down the options, at that point, we will work through the details and strategies for each of the choices that are out there, and work through that with our employees. But within the regions and the school where you're working, we will all work together to come up with an amicable way to handle that.
So I have a question, Dr. Long, from Rios, and it was around, Rios would like to know if our school system considered Zoom as a platform for distance learning. And the answer is no. The district has chosen to use Google and Google Apps as our standard virtual platform. And the reason behind it was because of the security, the security piece of Google. We've been working closely with Google, as well as our many of our teachers are trailblazers, and they're very accustomed to using Google Classroom. So for us, since we had to shift so quickly as a district, it only made sense to use similar platform that we're already using in the classrooms. And this is in all grade levels. But we have been working with Google very closely. Our ed tech department has been outstanding in continuing to ask Google for certain adjustments and additional security measures. And it's good to know that Google has shifted many of their technicians and engineers to work on the education side to continue to improve that product. So that is a few reasons as to why we stuck with Google. Well, Dr. Long?
I have one more. I think this, I'll just share this one. This is from Mama Bear 82. I've heard that high school students will be the ones to learn from home. Please know my son cannot be home by himself at all. I don't care how old he is. Until he graduates, he needs supervision. I hear you.
I agree on that one. I concur.
I definitely understand. We have not made any decisions regarding the exact plan, but definitely duly noted. And I appreciate that feedback.
You know, the other one, and I know we said, okay, this is it. This is really it, Dr. Long. The last one was, and it came up a few times, right? And so in our audience, I do know that we also have some of our faculty and staff listening on, and we want to make sure that we also address their questions. And so, you know, one of the questions was around their safety. You know, what I want to share, and I want folks to know, not only our parents, but also our faculty and staff that are out there listening, is that we currently are already working with COVID-19 employee protocols. We have our principals as well as our custodians already at the school centers working in preparation for opening. And so all of us have been trained that have been on campuses, and we have very, very tight protocols. And I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that, you know, we recognize the challenges and the difficulty around trying to, you know, maintain everybody safe. But we certainly are doing the very best that we can and we've taken quite a bit of effort to make sure that we all understand the expectations of that. So I just want to make sure that we answer that question, because I know that it's a lingering question from some of our faculty and staff.
Okay.
All right, Dr. Long, you're going to close us out?
Yes, I am. So I want to thank you all for joining us this evening. I want to thank board members Dr. Robinson as well as Mrs. Whitfield for being a part of tonight's town hall. And in addition to our city officials, I thank you all for joining us this evening and being a part of the discussion. If there are additional questions, if there's additional information you'd like to share, we have notated our email addresses and phone number on this last slide, and I encourage you to email, to reach out. We are definitely keeping track of what's being shared, because I think it's important to hear the voices of our parents as well as our teachers. And so I encourage you to email Valerie Haynes and I at any time, and we encourage the open communication as we work through these difficult times. But I believe as a community, we will do it together and in the best interest of our children.
All right. Well, thank you, and have a great night.
Thank you.